Well, we've got the neck routing set properly, the neck joint, I should say. It fits nice, so we've measured out where the bridge is going to go. I'm using a Telecaster bridge, which is this fella. Come on, get off of there. Alright, so this guy goes there. I've measured that for straight, and I've measured that for whether or not this lines up with the neck when you put strings on it, so the strings are going to stay centered on the neck properly. And they do, which is beauty. Which is all about this edge right here, which I think the thing said it was like 0.84 of a degree off of the center line. This here is parallel to the center line. So if I've got this angle correct, then the neck will sit nicely, which it does. So now I've got my fence set up, lined up with where this pickup's going to go. This pickup is a trace of this, and the pickups are sort of strap pickups, and they fit, but they're going to be a little too wide if I route them the way they want me to, because then they're going to extend past the sides of the bridge. I've come to a discovery that it is too much work, and it's a little too hard on the router and the workpiece equally, to have the fence at the sort of final cutting depth, because what I'm having is the bit sort of growling at me while it's cutting, and if you can see, that's not a very smooth cut. It's a bit of ripping going on. So the way to fix that problem is to have to do everything twice, and I have a much thicker fence. So here's my original, and whenever the thing jumps around, then I get these bruises in the fence, which I then have to plane out. And I've got room. This is large enough. So now I've got this guy, which is not quite, it's over twice the thickness. So my first cut is not going to be as precise necessarily. I just have to stay inside my cutting space, and then oops, I'm out of frame. And then on the second pass, I have to put the thinner fence on, line it up just the same, and then route again. So it's a lot more routing, but if you're going to do a good job, you got to do it slowly and carefully. So anyway, here we go. Okay, slight router mishap. Whoops. Easy enough to fix if you're good at covering up your sins. What I'm going to do is cut up a little chunk of this with just by hand with my Dremel or something, so that I've got a rounded piece where the threads are going the right way and it's the right depth, and then glue it into that little gap. So that's kind of slightly on the cheesy side, but it's certainly better than just filling it in with wood filler, because that won't stain. And unless I'm using a completely solid opaque color, which I'm not, then that would just be awful. So I mean, we're still going to see, you know, wood grain, and there's going to be a few imperfections in this, but this is a learning process. Got ready for my holes. I'm happy with where these are in terms of where the neck goes. Here's where I'm going to drill my neck joint holes for the bolts, and we're ready to go outside to the drill press and get those done. Oh, here's the trick. When doing ferrules and drilling through the body, don't just drill 6 holes from one side, because the greatest likelihood is they won't be straight. Certainly if you're just doing it with a drill, forget about it. If you're doing it with a drill press, even still, they might not be perfectly straight. If they're not perfectly straight, they'll look wrong. It doesn't matter how hard you try, they just won't look right. So the trick is, you do the 2 outside holes first, and just drill them straight through. Use a drill press so they're as straight as you should, you know, hope for. And then from the other side, drill 6 straight or 6 holes in a straight line that are going to hold your ferrules, and you do those at the sides the ferrules are going to be. Then you come back around to the top and do your other 4 drill through, because the top is where the string has to meet a hole in the bridge plate, and if you're not lined up, the string won't go through and you're screwed. So the holes I'm drilling are smaller than the holes in the bridge plate to make sure that they just guide straight through, no problems there. And if they don't line up absolutely perfectly at the bottom, you won't really notice because the ferrules will all be perfectly lined up. And as long as the hole meets roughly the center of the ferrule opening, then we're good to go. And I can stuff a rolled up piece of sandpaper in there and just sort of, you know, widen the hole with a pencil tip or something like that to, you know, cover off the rest of that work. So anyway, we're going to get all that drilling done now. And then once we've got that, we're going to route the control cavity. And I got some, I don't know what you call these, auger bits. These fellas. So this is going to go through all the way into there. And then I'm going to do one more at an angle from here down into where I route the control cavity. I'm probably going to do the body shape first, though. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe not. Oh well, anyway, let's get moving. Got my holes drilled, and these other 4 holes, they're just for holding the bridge down. I'm sure I can handle putting them in straight. So, these 2 guys are the 2 outer edge ones. I'm very pleased to say. There it is. They line up just right with these 2 edges. So I'm just going to use this as a template to trace out where I'm going to drill all 6 of the ferrules, and then push the bit the rest of the way through, and we're done. We're ready for the control cavity. Good stuff. So what to do with this little router accident? I did get some wood filler, but I thought, you know, just as an experiment, I got a handful of sawdust off the floor, and I hand carved this little number just out of a little scrap. And I got it so that the grains are pointing the right way. And I'm going to mix up some wood glue with my sawdust here just to try and make it a little less solid glue-y. I don't even know if that's going to do anything, but who knows, right? Just for fun, it's an experiment. We're just going to see how this works from a finishing standpoint. So I'll get that thing clamped on and we'll have a look. Alright, well there we go. It's kind of a mess with the glue sawdust mix. That was not quite the clean experiment I wanted in my palm. But anyway, this is the only clamp I have that's actually that long. So it's not my favorite clamp. They're okay, but they're certainly don't give you maximum grip. It's probably enough to glue something, but that does mean I definitely need to leave this to fully dry before I take the clamp off. So that's going to interfere with my wanting to route the body today. So what do you do if you find yourself waiting for glue to dry and you need to be productive? What I do is fix furniture. So this is a TV tray, one of those cheap ones. Get a set of them for 10 bucks. They're oak, but anyway, they're cheap. Or maybe they're maple. Probably maple. I don't know, I don't care. Anyway, the legs are wobbly, and the culprit is this joint here. So these 2 guys are starting to separate. There's just a couple of nails holding a peg into this leg here. So what I've done is drilled holes in both sides and poured some glue into the hole, and I've got a wooden dowel of just the right size. And so stick it in the hole and hammer it in. And I'm going to have about a 1/4 inch of it sticking out. So here's my handy dandy mallet. Yeah, that didn't happen before. Oh well, all the same. Slight bit of cleanup to deal with. Wipe some glue off of there, and that should set up nicely. And then as soon as the glue dries on my guitar body, I can get the router out, clean up that plug that I put in, sand it down flat, continue working on that. So here we are. There's my lovely buck-toothed fix. I'm going to clear that off with the router instead of trying to do it with sandpaper or chisel. Just make it faster, really. But I've got it down to smooth. Obviously the grain lines don't line up, but That was hand filed out of a little chunk of wood, and it's amazing. You can make a mess in a split second that takes you an hour to fix. So anyway, we're basically ready. Well, I have to make this thing Telecaster shape first, but I got these supplies today, so I got myself some, wow, that's French. There we go, wood finish. This is just your natural stains, nutty color. And I got these guys. These are, I think, stamp pad ink refills. I just went to a printing place because the hardware store didn't have any. And ink, so I got some black and some red. To use the black, really water it down, wipe it on, wipe it off, and that brings the grain out. So just to give a bit of texture to the finish, I didn't want to spray paint the thing solid red because that would just, well, boring. I've got some black spray paint, so I'm going to do a sunburst effect with a red, sort of a cherry red stain. I couldn't buy cherry red stain, so I'm going to have to mix it myself. And then urethane. So once we're all done there, we'll see where we are.